Hey friends, Fallout here, and Joe Blackburn from Bungie actually just put out kind of an emergency damage control video from Bungie regarding the recent Destiny 2 State of the Game article. A lot of people told me this was really important and had a lot of very big news, and it does have a lot of big news about the future of D2 in response to the state of the game, so let's listen in.
Hey everybody, it's Joe, and I'm just here to check in on how Destiny's going. So a few weeks ago, we put about state of the game communication that wasn't up to our standards for what y'all have come to expect for those kinds of communications.
So like I just said a minute ago, before I fixed the audio on this tweet, interesting that he came to that conclusion. I wonder if he had those kind of thoughts while writing the State of the Game article, or if he came to that conclusion after seeing the complete avalanche of community feedback that happened immediately after dropping the State of the Game article. I wonder if this kind of follow-up video was already in the works, or like, again, I'm just wondering about that.
It didn't provide the high-level vision that we normally provide, and really and truly, a bunch of us were heads down working the final shape and weren't able to give it the sort of care and love that we normally put into these kind of communications. And that's nobody's fault but mine here on this. So I wanted to come in, talk to you all directly, and sort of give you an update on what we thought about the state of the game that we put out and what we think about Destiny as a whole. Now, this is going to be pretty different than normal. This isn't a highly produced sort of production. It's me in my office. It's not scripted. I've got a bunch of notes here that we're going to read through.
Okay.
And it's going to feel probably more like you're just in a meeting with me, which is going to be rambly, and we're probably going to mess up a few times. But really, I just want to go over where we're thinking about the game. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the reveal coming out next week. We're going to talk about PvP. We're going to talk about armor. We're going to talk about our communication strategy.
Okay. This would have been really helpful to do. Again, I wonder how much of this was like, hey, I'm going to plan to talk about this in the future. And I wonder sort of how much of this is, you know, if we're being completely honest, just complete damage control after the community response to the State of the Game article. I'm just wondering out loud. So let's see what he has to say.
Those are the big ones. So let's just get right into it. Let's start with reveal. Next week, we're going to go out and we're going to show an awesome showcase for the final shape. We're really excited about a bunch of the content in there, but and truly, that showcase is not a reaction to the state of the game last week. It's not a reaction to a bunch of the sentiment online, and it's definitely not a reaction to this video. It was recorded a while ago. I think I have a mustache in the video, and it's a pretty focused reveal. In the same way that the game itself is pretty focused.
Hedging expectations.
The final shape is focused on the light. It's focused on the enemies we've been setting up and the allies that you've come to know. It's not about a bunch of wacky new systems or wacky new themes coming into Destiny. Instead, we want to make an experience that's super easy for anyone who's ever played Destiny to come in and absolutely fall in love with the content that's before them.
Okay.
I think the other thing that's really important here to know, as I sort of look at my meeting notes, is that communication is built for a pretty wide audience, much wider than probably whoever is watching this video. So what we're not going to talk about is things like a big new Strange Coin refactor and Xur revamp that's coming out in the final shape.
Got it.
We're not going to talk about things like a refactor of HUD elements where we're making sure the buffs and the debuffs are more clear and you can tell what's happening in higher level combat. It's going to, again, really be focused on the story, really be focused on the location, and maybe we'll get into a little bit about how the live service of Destiny is going to change after the final shape.
That final note is a really interesting talking point that I'm very interested in. But he's basically, what it sounds like is that he is hedging expectations for the reveal and the showcase next week, which is going to focus primarily on the story and maybe bringing back a bunch of players who might have taken a break or stepped away. Like, hey, if you played a year ago, if you played 2 years ago, if you were ever interested in the story about Destiny, we are coming to the final conclusion of the Light Darkness saga. So that sounds like, at least if I'm hearing him correctly, it sounds like he's trying to hedge expectations for that showcase reveal next week. It's going to be heavily focused on story beats and the conclusion of the saga, not getting deep into the weeds with a bunch of new systems and updated changes that that the more experienced veteran players might be more interested in. That last thing he mentioned about the future of the live service game is very interesting. I want to hear more about that too.
Following that showcase, Dan, our GM, and I are going to be on set, taking questions, dotting T's, crossing I's, or maybe the reverse of that, on what you've seen in the showcase. So we'll provide a little bit more clarity on what was shown, and we'll probably get into some ways that maybe our philosophy on the final shape or specific details might have changed over the last few weeks since we recorded the showcase.
Okay.
All right, I think that's it for reveal. If I'm looking at the sheet next, we've got PvP. So let's start with the state of PvP right now in Destiny.
Can't wait.
What have we been doing? What have we been focused on? We've been really focused on sandbox balance. So like a big focus of effort last year was just making sure that Strand came out in a good place and got to live sort of in harmony with the rest of our Crucible ecosystem. Aside from that, we've been focusing on putting up 2 weapon balances per season, one at the start, one in the mid-season.
Sure.
And we've been focusing on rich.
I wish they would change more about PvP, but I will give credit for the giving, 2 balance patches per season, one in the mid and one at the end, or is it one at the beginning? Whatever you just said. I do appreciate that. Sometimes those balance patches aren't as sweeping or effective as I want them to be, but I do appreciate whatever work the Sandbox team is throwing at that shit each season. Continue.
Actual updates to PvP, be this mode updates, point updates, reward updates at the beginning of each season. Finally, we flip over to our agenda.
Look at the notes.
We've been focused on making 1 new map and a few reprises a year. Now, all that aside, I think it's fair to say this approach is not producing the Crucible that our players expect us.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I'm like shocked that you just came out and said that. No.
So what are we going to do? How are we going to change? First, let's talk about maps. It's clear that the sort of slow trickle of PvP maps isn't having the effect we want. And although it gets an injection of PvP maps every so often into the ecosystem, it's also forcing this like 1 new map a year. It means we're trying to build a map that has to do everything, which means it can't be good at anything. So next year, we're going to change our philosophy. Instead of a slow trickle of maps throughout the year, we're going to focus our effort into a single map pack that's free for everyone.
What the fuck did he just say? Anno, this is... Really? Wow. I was not expecting... My brain just broke. Out of everything I could have put... Okay. Let's continue.
So imagine new maps coming in 1 drop where we can make a bunch of new experiences that can all be good at specific things and adds a big variety in a single drop next year. Now, this is a shift from our strategy, so it's going to take us time to sort of understand the details of what we're putting out here and getting that out to you all next year.
I am shocked to hear that. I wonder how the community is going to react to that. That's fucking awesome. Wow. Giving player feedback works. Player feedback works, baby. 1,500 silver for it. Didn't he just say for free? God damn. Okay, let's keep listening.
Okay, maps are great, but we still really believe that PvP is about the foundation, and new maps aren't going to solve a foundation.
That is true.
So, modes. First of all, I'm really excited about what's coming out in Season 22, first with Checkmate. Checkmate is a mode all about that sort of primary fire, basic weapon excellence of Bungie games, and being able to show that excellence in a PvP setting. It's what a bunch of our like really marksman style PvP players have been asking for a long time since Destiny 1. And we're finally going to put a mode like that in the game. And I'm super excited for a bunch of those players to get that experience starting right away in Season 22.
Sure. We already knew about
Next,
that
we've got Relic. And so Relic is a different kind of mode, and it sort of is a building off of these experiments that we've been doing with things like Fortress or Eruption, where it's about this quality.
Don't believe a word the devs say. I feel like I just have to pause to read that one comment in the chat. Don't believe a word the devs say. Like, really? Like, this is Joe Black. You know what his title at Bungie is, right? I'm just saying, if he comes out on the record and says all of this, that here is our future design philosophy, here is our game plan, we're going to deliver. He's literally giving you a laundry list of here's what we're going to deliver, XYZ. We now have that written down in the log, and we can go back and follow up on that if they change the plan or falter or backtrack. This is good that he's saying this. This is good. This is like, we want this level of communication. Nah, Maggie, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Destiny sandbox experience of your guns and your powers that escalates when you succeed in sort of a crazy mayhem-like experience. And we think the balance of those two things is a really great time to sort of spin away from other parts of the game and get the full spectrum of what Destiny has to offer. I'm really excited about things like Fortress, and I'm really excited that Relic is going to provide an experience like this that is both, fun for people that are really good at slaying out and also has these sort of like high-octane hijinks moments to it. But that's what we've already committed to. So let's talk about some new things that we think we need to do.
Good. Okay,
one, we
great.
know we need to bring more of our modes into the core playlists. We've been putting a lot out in labs. We've been putting a lot out in Iron Banner. And to be honest, there's a few obstacles to us putting these into our core playlists. Be this VO or small bug level issues that we just were like, I don't know if we're ready. I think that has been blocking us from doing the right thing here. So we're going to take on some of that bug wake. We're going to take on a little bit of the jank, and we're going to say, no. This isn't worth us not putting into the mode. And so we're going to take some of these modes that we've been putting in Crucible Labs, we've been putting in Iron Banner, and taking them and putting them into the core PvP experience that most of our players experience.
Okay.
We've also heard a lot about comp.
Yes.
And particularly about the way that we reward points in comp.
That's definitely a concern.
We want to take a new approach to the way that we're balancing points in comp. Right now, we think it's just weighted too much on your personal MMR versus the people you're playing against. And when you win or when you lose a game, it can be really unpredictable how many points you're getting. We're going to go to a simpler system where winning or losing just matters more.
Okay, I guess that's a fair change. I don't play much comp, not because I think there's a flawed point system in comp. I don't play much comp because I don't really feel like I'm being rewarded, like the loot wise. I mean, like if you brought the rose back, I would probably play a lot of comp. But the loot isn't really up to snuff for me in comp. But if people really enjoy that change, like the comp diehard players, if they really enjoy that change, then I guess good. That's not really me. I'm more of both quick play and trials kind of guy. But if they made the loot better, I'd probably play a lot more comp.
Finally, we want to get great modes like Countdown Rush into competitive and get modes that people are less excited about, like Rift, out of the rotation.
Okay.
Making that competitive experience more about the game modes that, our players
people enjoy. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we've talked map strategy.
Okay.
We've talked modes.
Right.
I want to talk one other effort we want to do here. We're going to bolster what we call a PvP strike team. Throughout Destiny development, we've built strike teams for efforts before. This has probably been sort of invisible to you all in the audience, but in moments like in between Curse of Osiris and Warmind, we built a strike team for Destiny investment. This team was sort of built around, hey, how can we make it more rewarding and more enjoyable to just get stuff in Destiny 2? This team built stuff very quickly, like what would eventually become the masterworking system. They also went through, knocked out a whole bunch of bugs, knocked out a whole bunch of quality of life issues.
It's kind of like an emergency dev team based on what the community feedback is sort of rallying around. Interesting.
We're going to take the same effort and we're going to build a PvP strike team around the same principle, but have it focused on the Crucible.
What is the difference between the regular PvP dev team and the strike team? I don't think he's going to go into that detail. I would really like to know what the difference is, if any. But okay, I mean, I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. Tell me more about the PvP strike team.
It's going to be led by PvP developers, and
Great.
It has a really interesting playbook for how this works. And that's that first the team decides what they want to do. They as a team get together, say, hey, these are the changes we want to make. Those changes go through me. They go through our systems CD. And then when we say, yep, those are great changes, they immediately get communicated with you all in the community, right? So this will be going out in a TWID, going out in...
He said TWAB. You said TWAB, Joe Blackburn. You can change it to TWID all you want. The people aren't falling in line. TWID. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here with your TWID.
A Twitter post or going out on Reddit, right? Just sort of some immediate blast, like, hey, these are the changes coming.
Got it.
And those changes get communicated even before they start getting implemented. And then we start getting implemented.
Okay.
We found this formula is a really successful way for us to be able to push through changes quickly into the community.
Okay.
And I think one of the most exciting parts about these strike teams is we build them based off of community feedback. So these strike teams are built from the ground up to look at, hey, what are the pain points that are hitting our community the most? And so all this list is going to be built and burned down from, hey, these are the big issues the PvP community is looking at in Destiny.
Great. That all sounds really good. I don't mean to sound like an ass. I mean, like, I'm kind of hoping that is sort of like the go-to move from the beginning, that you're just kind of listening to your community. Hey, here's the pain points, X, Y, Z. How do we respond? But I'm glad that they're going to put a special task force on it or something. That actually is, I mean, good. Again, won't look a gift horse in the mouth.
All right, I think that's the end of the PvP part of our agenda. If I'm looking at our notes here,
that actually wasn't bad.
I think we're now going to talk about armor. It's probably been a while since we talked about this part about armor, but we might have talked about it before. I want to start with talking about armor visual categories in Destiny. So at the top, we've got what we call aspirational armor. This is stuff like raids, trials, dungeons. We want the armor that comes from these activities to be flashy, or to like really talk about the core of what that experience is. It's really important that when players earn these armors, they feel proud, they want to wear them, they want to show them off in the tower.
Yeah, sure.
Next, we've got silver, right? This is armor that you can buy for the store for silver. It's important for us that this feels like it's sort of breaking the mold of what you could expect in a Destiny game. It's our place to experiment with stuff that's a little bit fourth wall breaky. And importantly, we want anyone that spends silver on armor to feel like, hey, it was worth it, right? Like, I got my money's worth when I spent this armor. It was cool. Then we have what I call narrative armor. This is the stuff that you'll see in any sort of our marketing trailers. This is the stuff that you earn in the season pass. It's the stuff that you earn in the post game of a campaign. And it's really about driving home what that specific moment in time was. So in season 21, it's deep sea diver armor, right? And Witch Queen, it's sort of like weird paranormal detective armor. You'll see what it is in the final shape here in a week or so. But that armor for us is really about like driving home this clear, consistent fantasy of like, oh yeah, I was there. I remember that time in Destiny. Finally, we've got rituals and blues. And this space has always sort of been about that core Guardian fantasy. What does the Guardian look like that you would imagine sort of the stereotypical everyday Guardian, or the Guardian that you see on the front line? Maybe tragically a Guardian that tried to go into the portal of the Traveler and then gets cut up into a million pieces. This is that spot. And we need a lot of armor here to sort of flesh out those fantasies.
Okay.
Now, sometime in the middle of last year, we sort of reevaluated our priorities on armor. And we said, hey, we need to be spending more on the armors that people care the most about, the people that earn, that spend, that do all this to this so they can sort of get these armors in the game. So this is like our PvP stuff and trials, our aspirational stuff in raids and dungeons, our narrative stuff. We thought we weren't consistently hitting the bar enough in those looks. And I think that since that initiative, we've been really successful in this. We've put out great stuff in terms of like cowboy armor.
The cowboy armor is really cool.
Spire. We've put out awesome stuff in the Root of Nightmares raid. And we've put out a bunch of awesome armor sets for sort of a deep sea fantasy last season and Season of the Deep. Now, what we failed to do when we reprioritized, hey, where are our resources going, is communicate this to you. So we knew that when we made this change, we weren't going to be able to make a ritual armor set every single year. And we thought, okay, well, that's fine. We have a lot that fits this sort of base Guardian fantasy. but we should have communicated that out to you. And so, one, I'd like to say, this is not a thing that we're never going to invest in. We're investing in it again in the final shape. There's going to be a whole nother ritual suite of armor. And we're excited to sort of replenish that base card in fantasy. But just because we're doing that in the final shape year, that doesn't mean that we communicated this soon enough. So also for this year, we want to take an armor set that we were going to put in the Eververse, and we're saying, no. We should have communicated this earlier. It's really important that our fans can trust us. Let's take this armor set that we were going to use in season 22 for the Eververse set, and let's say, no, it's going to be free, and we're going to put it as a ritual rewards.
Okay, that is interesting. We've reached very interesting territory with this Joe Blackburn video. It's like I'm both proud of the community and also like a little bit worried because this is like so much of what is going on here from Joe Blackburn is like, you know what? We fucked around. You called us on it. You're right. You're fucking right. We're going to give you XYZ, which is good. I mean, I feel like for the most part, with a couple of insane people on Twitter being an outlier, we as a community have given, for the most part, good feedback about what we found to be wrong with the state of the game, why it bothered us, here's what we want, yada, yada, yada. Again, we all want the best possible product. I worry that this may potentially set up a precedent where people will overly, again, there's nothing wrong with continue to give Bungie your feedback. Continue to give Bungie your feedback on what, makes what you want to see in the game, what you think the game needs, yada, yada, yada. I am worried that there might be more, let's put it this way. I'm worried there may be more DMG situations in the future where devs being overly harassed to get to community needs and demands. What fucking part of Twitter am I reading? The good feedback, not the insane feedback? Why would you read the insane feedback on Twitter? I mean, it's very easy to read people who are giving insane feedback and be like, oh, pay that person no fucking mind. They're crazy. This is good. A lot of people are probably going to tease and poke Bungie for doing a lot of backpedaling after the state of the game, but I like that they're listening to the community being like, oh yeah, you know what? We fucked up. We made a lot of mistakes. You're right. You're right about XYZ. We're going to give you all that. So, all right. I'm going to keep hearing them out.
So next season, before the end of the season, you should see a brand new armor set that you can earn through playing Strikes, Crucible,
nice.
Gambit as like a ritual reward for doing this, a brand new armor look.
Dig it.
Again, we're confident in our strategy going forward. We believe this is the right priority going forward, but also it's our responsibility to communicate this stuff sooner. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by all the fans. All right, I think that's armor. Let's talk about comms. Okay, we've talked a lot about how the development team is very busy. And I think that although we really want to be focused on delivering great content to y'all and making sure that's our top priority, that doesn't mean our communications have to suffer. And so the first thing, we want to be talking to y'all more. But talking to y'all more, our number one priority, we have to keep our community members and our community leaders safe.
Good fucking call. Yeah, this is such a crucial moment in the future of the relationship between Bungie and the community. This is so goddamn crucial right now. Yes, it's really good to have open lines of communication and feedback going between the devs, going between the community, going between the players. It's important. But holy fuck, we can't get into another situation where a community manager gets stalked and harassed and their family gets harassed and stalked and it bleeds over into weird online shenanigans that result in someone getting sued and taken to court because people are worried for their family's safety. All of that is fucked up. We can't have any more of that. So oh my God. Okay. We're going to hear from Bungie more, hopefully, as we move towards the final shape with this note from Joe Blackburn. It's really important that if we get information, if we get communication from Bungie that we don't like, We communicate that. We'd be like, hey, I don't like this. This plan that you're doing for the game, for the future of D2, for future of Bungie, whatever, don't like it. Don't make that change. It's a bad change. Here is why. Don't hear that feedback from Bungie and then look up the contact information of a community manager who you don't like and start harassing their family and doing all this type of fucked up shit. Don't be doing that. This is like, we need the communication to be open in order to make the best possible version of the game that we can possibly get our hands on. So like, we can give feedback. We can tell Bungie, like, look, hey, this shit is fucked up. Don't do this. We can tell them that. We can tell them the feedback is bad, but we just can't take it to a crazy level. Never again.
From the Bungie side. I don't want anyone that signs up to come work at Bungie and to talk to y'all about the game to have to worry about their personal safety.
Agreed.
So we're going to keep using our branded accounts. You'll see these on Twitter, and you'll see these on Reddit, right? And we want to be using those accounts with more personality, going and talking to y'all more. The other thing is me. I play the game a bunch. And right now, I don't have a bunch of time to be writing sort of big, long blog posts like you would assume. But
can imagine,
when season 22 rolls around again, I'm going to be in the game a lot. I'm going to be playing a lot. So what we want to do is commit to a few times next season and the season after. I'm just going to stream me playing the game. And you'll be able to come and talk.
Really? Okay, that is bold, Joe. That is bold. I stand behind it. You're gonna know what it's like. You better have a good fucking mod team there. Just saying. This is good. Like, it's just, wow. I don't think you realize a game dev going on to stream their own game live. You better be prepared, dude. I'm just saying, like, I really respect it. This is a huge respect, big cojones moment from Joe. Because I think it's important to, like, if more devs did things like this, I think it would create better understanding between the dev teams and the community. It's just, he better be prepared. That's all I'm gonna say.
Talk to me, and it's not gonna be reveal packed, but it is a great time to just be like, hey, check in with Joe. These are the things that we're feeling. Get his opinions on them.
Good. Respect.
And hopefully,
Big
if
respect.
I can get and play with some of our like elite players, learn a bit more about the game. I learn a ton from playing with y'all in the community about different builds that are exciting, different ways to roll. So I want to commit.
100%. It's a completely different experience hearing feedback when you're, I guess, in some sort of an ivory tower, rather than being down on the ground level with other players and, you know, getting your hands dirty. This is a big play. If he follows through on this promise to stream the game routinely, I will be impressed.
Get out there, play some PvP, learn from some experts, and play alongside all of you next season. All right, the only thing that I have left here is close. So I think that means my rambling on here today is over. Thanks so much for listening to this, for watching this. Really excited to see a bunch of y'all next week at the reveal. Bye.
Bye, Joe. Wow, that was crazy. I can't believe how much, again, just the power of community feedback, the power of being able to band together and organize thoughts clearly in a non-insane way to say, here's what I don't like about the game. Please do this. This is what is important to us as a community. A lot of people will probably meme on Joe and Bungie for walking back a lot of stuff from the state of the game, or, you know, like pivoting so quickly as a form of damage control. But you know what? I mean, would it, in a perfect world, yeah, I would have loved if we had never got to this point where Joe is putting out Fire's panic damage control video. In a perfect world, we never even reached that point, of course. But I'll give credit where credit is due. The fact that they heard the feedback so quickly and trying to pivot to make sure that you're not creating a dumpster fire in your community and trying to make a better version of the game based on what people are telling you is their honest, legit feedback. I respect it. Did not expect the stuff about the new maps and PvP. Didn't expect the PvP Strike Force. Didn't expect the armor thing. Really going to be interested in watching those Bungie streams. And yeah, smart move by Bungie. Smart. I actually am more excited for the upcoming showcase and the future of D2 and the final shape based on that communication and feedback alone. GG. I mean, we're going to have to hold them to it. Hopefully not a bunch of empty promises, but you know what? You've got my attention.